What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode in our wedding series. It's me, and I just want to be me and inspire you. And my husband, Jaquan, is here. Scott to inspire. I really want this to be a thing. Scott to inspire. Woo! No, but we're here on this video to talk a little bit about our wedding planning journey. I am not an expert. He is not an expert. We just got married last week and we just want to do a recap of what we learned from the planning process in hopes of encouraging, inspiring, sharing some hope, maybe a few tips, things we learned that helped us have a peaceful planning process. Because, yeah, the world wants you to be stressed out when you're planning your wedding, and that's not what we doing over here. Okay, so we just want to talk a little bit about our planning experience and hope that it's helpful to you. So, um, where do you think we didn't start planning immediately after we got engaged, right? We took a little bit of a break.
We talked about taking some time to enjoy being engaged first before we introduce wedding planning into the situation.
Yeah, that was what, like a month,
Yeah,
about a month.
we got engaged in March. We went to start planning in April,
I think it was maybe.
Aprilish, mid-April.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So about a month. Yeah, and I think that was really helpful to just enjoy being, because me, I'm a planner. I want to have everything figured out. And I know that we didn't start planning, but I had never thought about a wedding before. Like, I just never really thought I was gonna get married. I never had like a dream or fairy tale of what a wedding would be like for me. And so I kind of deep dived into all things wedding, joining the Facebook groups, Pinterest, Instagram, like looking at all the things. And fiancés and future brides, please do not be like me. Do not. Please do not. Please, I repeat, do not. Because it was stressful. It was undue, unneeded stress. Because in my mind, it was helpful to give me ideas and things like that. But in reality, it caused more anxiety. Um, it was helpful because it did give the ideas and stuff, but it was overstimulating. So I would say when it's time to start planning, continue to stay connected with your partner, like plan together. And even if it is just you getting ideas and getting like brainstorming and getting vision, do everything with your spouse, because you'll be on your own island, anxious island by yourself, and your spouse just chilling, and you wonder why they just chilling, because they doing what you agreed upon doing. I was like, well, I'm going to look at this so I have some ideas to bring to the table. No, do everything with your spouse during the planning process. And I think that makes it more enjoyable for both parties. And can definitely keep some of the undue stress away. So, yeah, if y'all gonna make a plan to wait and enjoy your engagement before you start planning, do that. Like, just be engaged. Don't get ahead of your spouse in that part of the process. Tips from me.
Part of the conversation from the previous video is that we didn't want to be engaged very long. Um, that being said, if you are going to take some time to enjoy being engaged, and I do recommend doing that, make sure you plan that into how much time you want between your engagement and
That's a
wedding day.
good point. Mm-hmm.
Um, because you don't want to take that time and your window gets shorter and you have to cram all the planning into, you know,
Yeah.
X amount of months. It's doable, but you just create more undue stress upon you. And then, guys, don't fall into the stereotype that we just show up on wedding day.
It's a lot.
And don't do that. Um, like Andrew was saying, just be actively engaged in the process, asking questions, seeking clarification, etc., etc. Um, yeah, yeah. Other tip. So I do event planning basically for my job, and Andrew's just naturally skilled in it. And so some of the tools that I brought to the table were like technical tools. And so,
Yes.
like Trello is a great resource that we use. Allows you to create different cards, and you can move. Tasks between those cards indicate the progress on them. So we have like a bank of tasks that we have to complete, and then each other block is where you are along it. So it's in progress, it's in holding because of whatever, it's done, etc., etc. We use that to keep track of stuff that we did. We use it to assign tasks to each other, comment lists, here's a cool resource we found, da 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 da. So, highly recommend something like that to keep you on track. If you're not going to use one of these paid ones, Trello is free. And then Excel. So we use Excel a lot as well to track how much money we're spending, to-do lists, the various vendors and deadlines, et cetera, to keep everything like in one place and organized. So those are my two big like logistical pieces I recommend: Trello or some kind of project management software, and Excel. Granted, Excel has a built-in project management feature. It's great too. I use it for work.
We should sponsor this man. And I love that you said that. Thank you for adding that because that builds on what you were saying as far as the stereotypes as wedding planning being one-sided. The wedding is not the bride's day. Um, Marriage is not about the wife. It's not happy wife, happy life. Okay, that is a complete lie. Marriage is about two people becoming one. It is not about a man becoming a wife. No, no, no. It's about two becoming one flesh. So nothing is revolved around the bride or the wife. And I was saying that to say, I think the beauty of collaborating in the process, you get to pull from each other's gifts, like use each other's strengths. If Jaquan is way more, I'm organized generally. Jaquan is way more organized than me in specific areas that came in super, super, super handy, especially for this, where there's a lot of ideas flying around. I'm like, ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about this? I'm sending him reels and Instagram posts and pictures and da da da. All right, let's collect it in a folder, right? So you can come back to it. Hey, let's put that in a Trello. So he's able to kind of hone in my creativity and I'm able to help pull out his creativity. And I think the beauty of the collaboration is that we were both able to really flow in our strengths, and not be intimidated by each other's strengths, but really like, thank you for that. Like, I'm grateful you got that gift because if it was just up to me, this would be all over the place. Chaotic, so I think that helps with the peaceful planning process as well, is being willing to embrace each other's strengths, and trusting that your partner is creative too. Like, just because they might not, we're creative in different ways, but we're both very creative. So when we give each other the opportunity to hear each other's ideas, talk through them, we can find ways to, is compromise the best word, or agree? Find ways to connect them, combine them, collaborate. So that way it's not just, this is my idea. It's like we're bringing all of our ideas to the table and then kind of working to find what's the best solution based on everything we brought to the table. And this kind of brings me to one of, I think, the biggest themes of our planning experience is that we planned planning. That was all Jaquan's idea. And I'm so grateful he had the idea because I just told y'all how I got overwhelmed myself trying to like do all the things. And one of the things that I loved that Jaquan recommended for us to do was to plan planning. And when I say planning is, let's set time aside that we're just going to talk about wedding stuff. Because if so we wanted to be engaged for a year, right? And we just told you we took a break. So we essentially had 11 months, right? And a little less actually, because we got married a week before we got engaged. So let's say 10, 11 months we spent planning. And part of what helped it stay peaceful and fun was that we continue to date, we continue traveling, we continue doing all the things we normally do. We continue talking on the phone and not about wedding stuff, just talking about life, checking in. And we had time to talk about planning. So like, what was it, once or twice a week, something like that. We would have a set time, and sometimes we needed to move it. If Jaquan had a long day at work or I ain't have no energy, all right, we'll talk about it another day. But it's gonna get done. It's okay. Like, today we gonna talk about decor stuff. What you thinking about colors? That conversation done. So what you having for dinner tonight? Like, going about it like that really helped to not overwhelm either one of us with a lot of wedding details. It doesn't mean I ain't go after the meeting and still dive into more things.
She did.
Because I absolutely did. I was bringing stuff for the next meeting. I'm storing up all my information for the next conversation when we talk about vendors. All right, bet I done some research to bring, which I think is okay as long as it's not overwhelming, right? Like we talked about earlier. But planning your planning, it's gonna make a huge difference because you'll still like each other on your wedding day.
Mhm.
You're not gonna be sick of one another. You will be able to bask in the fact that you planned the day with your spouse and you guys collectively made every decision that you get to see on the day of your wedding.
Mhm.
So I think that was a super helpful thing for us.
Yeah. I just did not want every conversation we had between March and March to be about wedding. Like it would have been unbearable, you know. So, like you said, we needed to build time in to still have conversations about other stuff because life continues to go on. We still have, uh, responsibilities for work, church, et cetera, and we just want to date each other. And so, it was necessary for us to have like this is necessary and important conversation to have because it's about the wedding day. But we have to prepare for life after the wedding day as well, and that can't happen if every conversation we spend is about the wedding day. Ultimately, whatever we end up doing, the day will end, and we will be married. We need to do the work of also preparing for the day after that.
Right.
So, it was important for us to make sure that we planned twice a week, wherever the case was, to talk about. Here's what we're talking about today. We're talking about vendors. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about colors. We're going to talk about and then knock that out the way, and then have normal conversation about something else outside of wedding stuff. And so, did it happen that there were times where Angie wanted to talk about wedding stuff and it wasn't our planned time? Yes. um, and she always prefaced it with the capacity for this. And so sometimes I say, yeah, I'm cool. And other times I'm like, nope, I don't. And she was fine with whatever the answer was.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important too. So checking with your spouse or future spouse ahead of time with um, the conversation, if it's outside of that planned time, just saying, hey, do you have capacity for this before jumping in and rattling off all the ideas you
All the
have
ideas.
at one time about all the things. I'm the type of person that um, it's hard for me to keep up sometimes in conversation if I'm getting thrown a lot of different stuff about a lot of different things. And so I'll just pull out a notepad or something and start taking notes as you're talking in ways to I can respond to what you're saying. And so um, planning the times kept the conversation focused as well about this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And so you know what to prepare for ahead of time. We did our individual research, brought together our findings, and made the best decision from what we found. And then moved on to the next thing, the next stage. So, highly recommend scheduling time to plan your wedding regularly and being flexible about those times for when life lives. So,
Because it will. And I think uh oh, I wanted to talk about part of the planning when it came to our general ideas for weddings. Like I think that's a big conversation that you need to have. I don't know that it necessarily has to have a timeline of like when you get engaged, you just talk about what you want in a wedding. I feel like we talked about that before we got engaged. Like, what are you looking for in a wedding? Because originally I was kind of against wedding things, like very much on a soapbox of everything costs so much money. Why are we gonna pay for all these people to come? Not. Very much on a large, high soapbox. Um, but Jaquan had specific desires because he's such a family man. He had very specific desires of people he wanted to honor and moments and experiences that he wanted to have, and that won me over to having a wedding. It's like, you're right. I actually would love to celebrate our union with people that we love and adore, and be able to create an environment and experience for them to celebrate with us because that's literally what we do. We gather people. And so, why not have our wedding be just another opportunity to do that, but to celebrate us, which is something new to us. But I think that was a great thing just to be open to other ideas than what you might have thought you wanted in a wedding, because it does need to be a reflection of the two of you. Like I said earlier, it's not about the bride. Like we wasn't about to have an all pink girly girl. I'm not that type of girl anyway, but just using it as an example, it wasn't just about to be Ange vomit, all the things I like. No, this wedding was going to be a reflection of the two of us, what we care about, what reflects who we are as individuals, as a couple. What message did we want to give? Which for us it was community, right? Like community is what got us individually where we are. Community is what has kept us as a couple strong, and so we really wanted to make sure that that was the major messaging that came across during the wedding planning process and the wedding. So I just wanted to mention that. Um, yeah.
Well, I think it's a perfect segue into like picking specific vendors as well along the way, because again, both of us have our areas of expertise or things that we care more about than another person, and that's fine. Like
Yeah.
Angie would ask me something, I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like, do
So what do you
whatever.
think about the flowers? I want.
I don't know anything about that. Do whatever you want, you know, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think what's important to me is that she cared enough to ask without just making a decision without me involved in it all. I think that's how you get to the groom showing up to the wedding day with no idea what's going on. And so things like the DJ, I took over um, as a point person because I cared about the music and wanted to make sure that we curated the playlist, et cetera, et cetera. Photography, that's Angie's thing. That's not my thing. And so, was I involved in the conversations? Yes, but I let her take the lead on that because she has the eye for that type of thing, has experience with it, et cetera, et cetera. And so, yes, there should be some areas where you lean on one person more than the other because they have the eye for it or expertise or what have you. But that doesn't mean that you make all the decisions regarding any one topic by yourself. At least pay the other person the ability to say they don't care about it
Yeah.
and let you and give you the freedom to make decisions in that area versus doing it all on your own and then they're like, here's what I did
Right.
while you were doing
And
that.
let me tell on myself, because just like at the very beginning of our planning process, I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we got towards the ending, like towards the end of the planning process where all the major decisions had been made, like we had picked vendors and everything, but there was these small details. Jaquan had a lot going on in the last 2 months or so before the wedding, work wise, life wise, and I just assumed, I want to assume the burden. I don't want to put any burden on him, so let me just do these things. I got a little extra money, let me just do this. And it got me in personal trouble, just because personal trouble in the sense of it added more to my plate than it needed to be. Because number one, we're partners, right? And so this is our wedding. There was certain times I would just pay for stuff because I had it, versus being like, hey, I know this is $50. You want to split it? You want to take that on? Hey, I'm about to buy these flowers. There was so many times I was just impulsive because I thought about it. It went with what we already had discussed, and I'm like, this makes sense. Great price, great deal. Let me go ahead and do it. Versus stopping, practicing patience, and being able to say, okay, I know I'm gonna talk to Jaquan tomorrow. Hey, let me run this by you. I saw this. These flowers are on sale for 3 more days. You want to split it? There was a lot of areas at the very back end when it came to details that I just was making impulsive decisions that went with what we had agreed upon, which helped me justify it. But on the back end, I was stressed, and Jaquan was like, I was wedding stressed. Jaquan was more life stressed. He wasn't wedding stressed, and now it didn't really make me feel some type of way, but I definitely felt the imbalance. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to put any of that on him, but I was able to realize, like, and I think that's a good thing too, is that I was able to realize it first, like I remember reaching out to you one day, like, Jaquan, I gotta apologize because, dang, I really been doing. I just been out here doing stuff and not keep. I haven't even included you in some of these decisions, and because in my mind, there's small decisions where you would say, "I don't care, you got it." I didn't consider you in those decisions, and I gotta apologize for that. And then from there, we were able to like talk through all the things and run past those things, and that made the very tail end of the process so much better for both of us because he was involved and engaged. And I wasn't feeling like I was carrying everything by myself. And it's like, I didn't have to. I chose to do that. I didn't have to. He didn't put me in a position. I put myself in that position. So if you're anything like me, where you're just like, I'm gonna take the lead and do all these things, just it's. I think that's part of humility is being able to say, I know I can do these things, but I don't have to. I don't have to be in control of all these ideas. Even if you don't, care or know about the things, like including you in the decisions is what matters. It's the communication about the things, keep you in the loop on it is what matters. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like work was crazy, like multiple 12-hour days, like back to back to back to back, and uh, Angie would be, working on the stuff for the wedding, and it'd be hours at night, we hours in the morning. And I think the turnaround happened when she wouldn't assume my capacity for stuff, but instead asked me and say, "Hey, Jaquan, would you, want to be creative director for the um, tent cards on the tables, et cetera, et cetera?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, I got capacity for that." And I love doing stuff in Canva, so I went on there and made little
The trifolds.
trifolds for the wedding
Mm-hmm.
in Canva, and stuff like that. So stuff that uh, maximized the capacity I did have for wedding stuff, while also taking stuff off of Andy's plate. So we were able to come together and collaborate effectively, I think,
Yeah,
in the last few weeks of
for
the wedding.
sure.
So
That made it way more enjoyable. Like it helped me look more forward to things versus dreading, like, oh my god, we only got 2 more weeks left. Oh my god, it's like we in a good spot.
mhm,
Because if I need help, I'm gonna ask for help. That's another thing is support, right? As you are planning a wedding, if you have good community, you're gonna have so many people as soon as you get engaged that, hey, let me know whatever you need. Hey, I'm here to help with whatever you need, y'all. Because we're doers, we gonna figure out how to do it ourselves, and we plan to be able to bear the weight of it ourselves. In case we weren't able to have, financial support or support in other areas. But when people offer you help, take it. Give them something. If people put their hand out to help you, you take it. Okay. Because even if you can doesn't mean you should. And if God want to use somebody to be generous to you, you better receive that love and that support, because it's not coincidental that he would give them the resources to be able to help you. And it helps to strengthen your community because it builds trust, right? That people say they want to do something and they come through and do it for you. So that's a huge lesson that we got to learn through this process. Number one is that people are capable of helping us in many different ways. People are gifted in different areas that we might not be, and they want to help and they can. Also, being willing to humble yourself enough to ask, even when you don't want to. Um, and sometimes those could be awkward conversations, especially financially. Like, would you mind helping us with this deposit? It will really ease a little bit of burden off of us if you could just help us with the deposit. We got all the rest of this, but man, these payments coming up back to back, and that's gonna hurt a little bit, right? We still got bills to pay. So being able to ask for help. First of all, let's throw in a shout out to our family. Um, Man, they came through in the clutch for us, just offering their help.
mhm,
Um, and it was so balanced, like the areas that they helped us out in balance each other out perfectly, and it really eased a lot of burden off of us, to be able to focus on one another in the midst of the planning. And that helped a lot, a lot, a lot. So we were still able to get all the things we wanted at our wedding, with the help of our family, and that made everything just so much more of a special moment, knowing that they contributed and invested in it. We still carried the bulk of the financial bill, but what our family helped with was huge. Okay, huge, pivotal, pivotal. And we really could not have done the day without their financial support and be on this honeymoon. Okay, without their financial support. So we want to shout out to our family, our parents specifically, for all of their contributions to making our wedding day what it was. So yeah, ask for that support. Friends, like even with our we decided to go with a small wedding party, like two and two, two guys, two girls, for the intimacy factor of it, also because we are a family of doers and our community is full of doers. So everybody want to be busy and do things, and we love that. But also for our wedding, we said everybody's sitting down. We gonna be sitting down. We gonna show up and do what we supposed to do and get married. All y'all gonna sit and enjoy the ceremony and this wedding. Don't you do no project. Don't you do a craft. I don't care. You not a vendor. No. I know you do this. No, relax, enjoy this time because we want you to be there with us. Um, but people were able to help us in the preparation of things in different ways, and I think that made for a beautiful experience as well. Nobody was stressed. Small wedding party. We allowed them to sit during the ceremony versus standing. That was a small detail that allowed them to be even more present in the moment. Get the great views of what's going on. Still have a few of the traditional pieces as far as like spending time and those type of things, and support on the day of. But we was like, y'all just be with us, just be. And I think that was an additional layer of support as well, for our planning and wedding. Anything you want to add? Does that cover all the planning stuff?
I think so.
Think so?
Um, Only thing I was gonna say is, um, people are gonna say, "Let me know if you need anything," and I know we're used to hearing that as like a really a rhetorical question, like "Oh, how you feeling? Or how you doing?" type situation,
Mm-hmm.
and not really meaning it. But people in the community are gonna ask you that and expect you to have something. So part of it is having your ducks in a row ahead of time, like having something to tell them, like you can help with this,
Mm-hmm.
knowing your people well enough to know that they're skilled in certain areas and say, you are good at blah blah blah, giving them something in related to that task or related to that skill regarding your wedding to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the flip side, being willing to receive the help or whatever the case may be is difficult for both of
Yes.
us.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about me and say I'm the person that's like first person to show up for an event, last person to leave for an event.
We be on the
Always
setup and the cleanup
set
crew
up,
every
clean up.
it's us.
I'm DJing, I'm bartending, I'm doing all the things throughout the event,
Hosting, yeah.
hosting, emceeing, like all that. And so, uh, trusting someone
Mm.
with your day like that uh, is going to one require a lot of trust and a lot of humility
Yeah.
to say this person is capable of doing this task, um, giving them instruction on how you want to do
Yes.
it, and then giving them the grace that comes along with that
Oh my
to
gosh.
complete
Do
the
it their
task
way.
and to
Yeah.
do it their way. So
That's good.
that's what I had.
Child. Let me add one more thing in the planning. Because I think this was a good communication lesson. Vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So two parts, right? One, selecting vendors. It's so important to research together and really be sure on your decisions that you make together. Like I think one of the great things about each of our vendors is that we did intense research, like both of us, and came together and really put in what's the word? Like we really made a stance, I guess, for what we wanted, and like why, and then like coming to make an agreement about okay, I can get with that. This makes sense. All right. And if we didn't agree, we was able to go back and do the like catering, for example, right? That was one that was really difficult because we kind of wanted a specific cuisine at first, and so we were looking for very specific catering. And we had to come to the table a few times before deciding on the caterer that we went with. But even doing that, not being frustrated, but just being like, we really want to make a decision that we both agree on. Like, we both like food, right? We food is one of the most important things in a wedding experience because everybody gonna remember that food. Was it good or was it not? That's all they care about. They don't care about the specifics. Was the food good or was it not? And we like food too, so we wanted the food to be good at our own wedding, and so that was a huge one that we had to really take our time with. Like, we're not gonna be rushed in making this decision. Um, on the other hand, of vendor conversation is you're working with multiple different people who are on multiple different timelines, and so you have to be willing to be flexible with them, and you have to keep everybody in a loop on things. So like for example, I was the go-to contact for a lot of the vendors. And I really had to make sure I included, like intentionally included Jaquan into different conversations, because um some vendors do buy into the bride's day vibes, you know, where they think the bride is the only person they're going to be talking to. The groom don't really care. So I made it a point to make sure Jaquan was included on any conversation that we had. If he was available to, if he had capacity for it. There was obviously somewhere it was like, y'all got that decor, handle that meeting, but put me in on the seat and chart meeting though. Put me in on this meeting, right? Put me in on the timeline meeting. But that's one thing, is like communicating through everything. Don't just take on anything by yourself when it comes to vendors. And when challenges arise, be willing to even work through those things with your spouse. We had a few challenges with communication with some of the vendors, and you know, we were able to kind of talk through the situations, us come to clarity on what's really going on here. How do we extend grace to these vendors, right? Because yes, we're paying them, and so you know, we're technically their employer because we're paying them to do what they do. And they're still human, they're still people, and we want them to have an enjoyable experience working with us as well, right? Like we want them to um, leave our wedding feeling like they met God at our wedding. You know what I mean? Like they're seeing a reflection of God. We're presenting ourselves as believers. Um, so we want to be kind. We want to be generous to them. We want to be, you know, patient with them through the process. So we really had to be intentional on working through how do we deal with this in a way that really reflects God. So I think that's what I would add as well when it comes to like vendors, choices, and all of that. That's between you and your partner. So I don't think we really need to go into like how to choose vendors that work for you. Um, but use your resources. The knot came in clutch for us in choosing a lot of resources. So, and then Facebook groups. But otherwise, you and your partner, y'all figure that out because you know what you want to do, and that's going to kind of determine what vendors you go with. But when it comes to actually working with the vendors, like really, if you consider yourself a believer, especially, really make sure that in your communication with your vendors, you're being intentional on how you show up as a believer, because we want to be accurate representations of God in us to these people that we're working with on our special day. It's not just about the money we paid for them to do what they do, because it's a privilege to be able to have these different vendors and to be able to afford having them. You know what I mean? So that's all I'll add about that. Yeah. Anything else? Good. Okay, so that pretty much was our planning tidbits. Tidbits. So yeah, we planned for what, about 10 months, something like 10, 11 months. And as you heard, we've learned a lot just from the planning processes. So please learn from us. Take what you need from what we learned. And if you are planning to get married, have a wedding, any event of the sorts with your person, I hope that this was helpful in giving you a little bit of framework or some things to consider as you plan together. So hope that's helpful, and can't wait to talk to you guys about our actual wedding day. So we'll talk soon. Bye.